Hello, everybody. My name is Martha Alter Hines with Living the One Light. Okay, in this video, I'm going to talk about and then I think channel regarding the upcoming new moon in Libra, which is happening on October 21st, 2025. And as I have mentioned, and I think other people are mentioning, this new moon has an extra special added element because 3i Atlas is going to be making it's going to be in its superior conjunction with the sun on the exact same day as the new moon, which is really, really, really interesting and significant to me. Because what that means, superior conjunction means that 3i Atlas will be on the other side of the sun from the point of view of the Earth, and a new moon is when, of course, the moon and the sun are lined up with the moon between the Earth and the sun. So on the day of this new moon, it happens to be the way it's going to line up is that it'll be the Earth, then the moon, then the sun, and behind the sun, 3i Atlas. And then 8 days later, October 29th, is when 3i Atlas has its exact perihelion with the sun, which means it gets the closest it's going to be getting to the sun. So we have this 3i Atlas presence, that brings in this other dimension to all of it, and it's interesting, and I've just been sitting with it. If you haven't seen the video or experienced the video where I channeled through to be with the being 3i Atlas and the other comments that are very present and alive right now, I definitely recommend that, because what I did in there is really held space, or I channeled, but it was not so much about me channeling to give answers. It was me channeling for us all to be present with these beings and with ourselves and with our own truth, to give space essentially for multiple parts of truths to be coming through each of us. So so I highly recommend going back and doing that if you haven't, or do it again even if you have, because these beings are still quite active, um and at the time of this new moon, it's going to be one of the moments where it's 3i Atlas in particular is especially alive, and then the swan comet also very alive at the same time. Okay, so yes. So once again, I feel like I don't feel called to give a truth about what I think it means that this is all converging at the same time, but I will kind of give some of my feelings, my thoughts, and lead us into another way of being with all of it, to allow some of your truths to come forward so that that can inform all of us, right? Because I really feel strongly, so strongly, that one of the humongous shifts we're making as a collective, individually, but also as a collective, and it's actually very related to these energies of this new moon and the full moon we just had in Aries also. We have been in the time of great forgetting. One of the things we forgot, and we're done forgetting, is that each of our truths, each of our voices, and each of us as a wisdom keeper of existence are equally important. Okay. So we've been indoctrinated essentially to look outside of ourselves for these answers. And yes, absolutely. I think it's amazing when people are sharing what is coming through for them. I love it. And that doesn't feel like the only answer, right? Is just to hear that person over there saying XYZ. I think it needs to be a combination. I think we really need to be deeply listening to ourselves and deeply listening to each other. Very, very Libra Aries, actually. So yes, so I really want to hold space to kind of balance the tendency to, have XYZ person say this, and then we all just kind of get focused on that outside voice, as opposed to also remembering, wait. I'm equally in relationship with these beings. You're equally in relationship. We all are in deep, deep, deep relationship with everything all the time. We are everything. So, so your voice, your truth is just as needed and just as important. So that's part of what I'm doing here. And what I try to do in general is hold space for that. Okay. So let me show you first the chart of the actual new moon. Then I'm going to talk about different components, and I think I'm going to be channeling. We shall see. Okay. So the new moon itself is going to be at 28 degrees, 21 minutes of Libra on October 21st, 2025. And yeah, and then the ruler of the new moon, which would, quote unquote ruler, wisdom keeper, is Venus, who will also be in Libra at that point. Um, and so there's, yeah, just to kind of cut to the chase, like humongous set of energies here for so many different reasons that are really powerfully supporting us to have a radical shift, take radical self-responsibility to deeply undo and then heal our own ways of relating to the divine feminine, the divine masculine, to relationship, to our own inner needs, our tender emotional self. What is our truth? What are other people's truths? And how can we truly, truly honor that in ourselves and then with the other? Okay. So I'll just name. So that's the gist of really, I'm just cutting to the chase. That's what I'm seeing here. But I'll tell you astrologically, give you a few more details if that is helpful. So the new moon, 28 degrees of Libra, opposite Chiron and Erisina in Aries. So wounded healer and you could say, warrior goddess for justice. I love Erisina. I love Chiron, of course. Yeah, just powerful healing and coming back into our own truth. At the same time, that is all being squared by Jupiter in Cancer, who's about to go retrograde in Cancer at 25 degrees of Cancer. So Jupiter's slowing down. It won't go retrograde until November, but I really feel that energy slowing down and, exactly squaring Chiron as it's doing that. Um, so a lot of, you could say, our inner child wounding might be coming up. Our inner child and our inner emotional needs might be really kind of knocking on the door and saying, "Hey, here's a reminder, here's a gift, here's a wisdom from my inner child self or from my emotional body and my emotional intelligence." That could be, feeling pretty tender. It could be feeling painful. But it's all, of course, always trying to bring us back to wisdom, the deep inner wisdom in ourselves. And then it's an out of sign presence there, but Pluto is essentially also squaring the new moon. And so then, it's out of sign. It's a little loose when you bring in these, but really what this is a grand cross of the new moon, Chiron, Erisina, Jupiter, Pluto. That is a very powerful grand cross. And it really, what this does is it activates, even though Pluto has entered Aquarius now, this set of energies of the new moon, Chiron, and Cancer is reactivating the very, very, very powerfully activated parts of the cardinal signs that were getting really highlighted and worked over and over and over again. And about 2, 3 years ago, when Pluto was in its last degrees of Capricorn. So if you have strong placements in, I would say the like 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 degrees of the cardinal signs, so Aries, Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn, if you have those really strongly in your chart, which I do, um, this new moon absolutely could be reigniting those energies and highlighting them again. So chances are pretty darn good, I would say, that if you do have planets or placements strongly in those degrees, um, I wouldn't be surprised if you know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, um, did some pretty deep personal work around issues of power, balancing of the feminine, masculine in yourself, honoring your own inner tender being, really coming into your own self-value and mm, yeah, listening to yourself and being able to be in relationship at the same time. Those energies were probably very strong for you 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And this new moon, absolutely again, it's like, going up the spiral. Hopefully if you've been doing that work, it's not going to be just like coming around to the exact same wound. It's probably bringing you up a spiral of healing with it. So, and collectively, absolutely, that's what's going on there. So yeah, so it's a really powerful opportunity for healing of those kind of wounds. And yeah, I would say the out of balance relating between the feminine and the masculine. Um and so yes, and then accentuating that also is the fact that Chiron and Erisina, the Aries element of this, is ruled by Mars, right? And Mars, on the day of this new moon, that is so powerfully about the healing between the feminine and the masculine and all of that. So interesting. Mars is going to be exactly conjunct Mercury in Scorpio. So what that feels like to me is, wow. Okay, remember how I said, you might be coming around another spiral of healing in relating to yourself and relating to others? Well, this energy, Mars conjunct Mercury in Scorpio, it's like, yeah, anything that needs to come up from the depths, the depths of yourself or in a relationship or in a way of relating in a dynamic, that if there's anything kind of been buried, or like you kind of knew that such and such wasn't feeling so great, but you didn't bring it up, or it wasn't even conscious for you that such and such was kind of out of balance. Yeah, it would not surprise me if in the coming week, I'm recording this on October 12th, and so the new moon is October 21st, so 9 days from now, um, during this whole period leading up to this new moon. Yeah, absolutely. I would say embrace it. If that comes up, awesome, because it might feel painful. I mean, Jupiter squaring Chiron. I mean, yeah, yeah, but definitely I could imagine it feeling tender or painful. And just I would say suggest for us all, myself included, to remember it's all held in a field of healing, and it's all in service of healing. And if we hold ourselves in that knowing, then the point here is the healing. The point isn't to like sling rotten tomatoes at somebody. It's like Mars conjunct Mercury in Scorpio is helping us go to the depths of the underworld, find the jewels in there that are ready to come up. And sometimes the jewels are like, oh, here's a part of my soul I never even recognized. Beautiful. So it can be very ecstatic. And or I would say often what happens is that we get taken to the depths of the underworld and we go, oh, or something even bubbles up from the underworld and we go, yeah, time for that to be cleared. And I'm going to take self-responsibility for, holding that space right now. And that might mean actually communicating with someone. Mercury wouldn't surprise me, um, or not. But again, this energy could be pretty intense, could be reactive, could be volatile, could be manipulative. There's definitely potential here for if a person is not holding this consciously, absolutely this could go haywire. This could be an energy of like mudslinging, or like but you blah blah blah, and no, but you know, blaming each other, or just the out of balance power dynamics kind of just re-emerging and being not very helpful. But we're not going to do that, right? That's not what we're here to do. So if you're listening to this video, chances are pretty darn good that you are a person who's committed to, at least, we want to at least try our best to be holding this all in a sense of an ultimate goal of love, an ultimate goal of healing, and as much deep consciousness and listening as possible. Okay, so those are kind of some of the basics. But then I want to bring in, okay, then, oh yeah, sorry. I will also say another component astrologically of this chart being so much, and these energies being so alive with the themes of the masculine, feminine healing, is also where the sun and the moon are going to be, and Three-Eye Alice are going to be in the sky, is in the constellation of Virgo, or the goddess, or the maiden, or the priestess, or whatever you want to call it. I personally love to call it the goddess constellation. Um, but specifically, it's going to be in the vicinity of that constellation near the star Spica. And right underneath the star Arcturus in the Boots constellation. So the Boots constellation and Arcturus are, north of the ecliptic, so not right on the ecliptic. Spica is right on the ecliptic. So the sun and the moon will be right with Spica. But Spica is the star that often is associated with the part of the hand of the goddess holding the shaft of wheat, which is the shaft of wheat is like the gifts. The way I often feel about it is that Spica has to do with the gifts of the divine feminine that she is bringing back to the planet. And then Arcturus, associated with the Boots constellation, Boots is the bear guardian. So, and is a masculine figure. So, Arcturus and Boots are a constellation and a star that I haven't personally sat deeply with yet. That's actually going to be the very last star we're going to be with in my Star Speaks course in the last month in March, April, somewhere around there. And Spica and Arcturus are going to be the last two, actually. So I haven't ever channeled either of them. So I don't have a deep personal feeling of them, but I just on the surface level, Spica is clearly for me associated with the divine feminine, and then Arcturus, I would assume, associated with the divine masculine, but they're both considered quote unquote 24 degrees of Libra if you were to equate Arcturus with the ecliptic, which it's not. It's pretty far north of the ecliptic. But so for me, that 24 degrees of Libra area of the chart brings in, it's Libra, so it already brings this in, but it extra brings in this element of bridging the feminine and the masculine. And this new moon is at 28 degrees of Libra, so very close to Spica and Arcturus. Okay. Yes, I think those are all the astrological things I want to say right this second. But then the other part I want to bring in here, is okay. So this part gets a little tricky. And I would love your thoughts. I would love for you to share with us what comes alive for you with all of this. This is kind of where I feel like the healing edge is for certainly the world, clearly. But probably for a lot of us, even personally, for myself personally, in a lot of ways. But also I would say in the spiritual, for certain parts of the spiritual world. Okay, so when we talk about, a lot of us feel very called to be present with the healing of the feminine and the masculine, or the divine feminine, the divine masculine, right? It's a whole gigantic topic. I mean, I literally held two entire symposia on this exact topic, one in June 2022, and another one in June 2023. Both of them had over 40 speakers. I mean, it was gigantic. The first one went on for a week. The second one went on for an entire month. I had an entire week dedicated just to exploring the healing of the divine feminine. I had another week healing the divine masculine. I had another one on healing around the wisdom around the divine person. And then another week dedicated to rebecoming the one, or like the healing of it all. Okay. So, and two of the books that I'm supposed to be channeling are called The Goddesses Speak and then The Gods Speak. And then another one called Love Speaks. And I have partially channeled The Goddesses Speak and also Love Speaks, but it's paused, and it's been paused for about 5 years. I channeled 2/3 of The Goddesses Speak 5 years ago in the summer of 2020 during, quarantine and all of that. I had a lot of time to myself, and that's what I ended up doing that time. That's 5 years ago, and it's paused there. Why? Because there's been a lot of healing that I have been needing to do in order to be a truly, a conduit. I need to do my own healing in my own self to really be a pure conduit for what's needing to come through in all of that. And I think the world, and many of us need to be ready for it. So it's a big, big topic. Okay. So what I just want to say, some of the current feelings I've been having about that whole endeavor of, all of us really, we do want to heal this relationship between the feminine and the masculine. Obviously, that's, I would say, the underlying pain point that you could probably point to for anything in the world, literally anything going on in the world that we don't like in some way. I would say ultimately has to do with some gender dynamic issue, right? Like war, for example, ultimately I think has a lot to do with an incredibly out of balance perspective on what masculinity is. Quote unquote masculinity is, that's not masculinity, right? So and then the degradation of the divine feminine. Okay, so we know that all of that. So then the question becomes, how do we do that? And what is the divine feminine? What is the divine masculine? I think that's a question that I was really sitting with 5 years ago. And then when I held these two symposia, in 2022 and then in 2023, that was a big question I was sitting with then. And still now it's 2025, the end of 2025. And here are these questions still. So, where I personally have been feeling, I've been feeling two things with regard to this in my own current journey with all of this, both personally, but also in the field, the healing field, and in the spiritual circles I'm in and things like that, in the astrology world in general. Yeah, okay. Number one, with these Libra energies so alive, so strong, I mean, new moon in Libra, Venus in Libra, et cetera, I've been sitting with and really deeply learning a whole new layer, again, going around that healing spiral, a whole new layer of the reality that Libra is an energy that supports us, that really wants us to learn how to deeply, deeply, deeply listen, really hear each other. And Libra is an energy of being in equal relating. So for example, right, I've been working with this myself a lot, of being in relating to others. And that means relationships of all different kinds, not just partnership or sexual or romantic relating. I've personally been experiencing this a lot in my relationship with my 18-year-old who just went to college, and also in a couple of friendships, I would say, where it's like this whole new layer in my own learning of what it is to love a person, which has to involve a huge amount of deep listening and really meeting the person where they are while also honoring where we are. What are my needs truly? And um how can I listen to you so profoundly that I can get it? And that I can then discern, can I meet you in those needs or not, right? It doesn't mean I have to meet you in those needs, but at least I can hear what your needs are and I can get it. Like that's a truly loving act, is to deeply hear each other, which I think often we miss. I can speak for myself. I have realized, long story short, like in my own life, let's say with my 18-year-old who just went to college, right? I have this huge amount of love for them. Obviously, I'm their mother. Um, but had to go through an adjustment over the last month after I dropped them off at college, where it's like, wow, they don't want to talk to me every single day or even every few days. Like they were like, okay, look, mama, can we, have an agreement that we'll talk once a week on the weekend, and then you can text me as much as you want. I really love getting I text them, pictures of the cats and like video, like this morning, like the cat was chasing his tail and it's like ridiculous and hilarious. And so I sent them a video of that. Right. And so they said to me, I love getting those, but I don't want to feel obligated to have to respond to all of them. So can we make an agreement? Like, yes, I enjoy getting those. Can you send them to me? Yes, but I don't have to reply to all of them. But I will reply when, you're wanting to make an arrangement to talk on the weekend. Okay. So it took a lot of me getting it, like having to step way back and not just blast my kid with all this. It's coming from a place of love in me, right? But it's not loving to just blast them with wanting like this question and how's this and how are you doing and tell me all the things and yeah. So there's a huge difference between loving somebody and acting in a loving way. The acting in a loving way requires that you have been deeply listening to what they actually need and want, which is sometimes very difficult. Right. So that's a kind of a simple example. Um, but I do think that's a humongously missing component in the whole masculine feminine dynamic as well, and can be much more trickier, I would say, than interacting with your 18-year-old, which that also has its own trickiness. But right, okay, so and then at the same time, this is where it gets even maybe more tricky. Then there's also this need. So there's the need to deeply listen to the other, listen to ourselves, etc. There's also the side, I would say, in the spiritual world, especially I would say probably in my generation and a bit younger than me. Not so much, not in the like Pam Gregory world or the Heather Ensworth world or anything like that, more in other circles that I don't tend to be that much a part of. But I certainly witness it. And I certainly feel a kind of pressure from it that I have to sometimes it'll hit me and I go, whoa, and I have to decide how I'm gonna, respond or not respond to it. I would say in certain circles in the spiritual world, middle-aged and younger-ish, maybe, there's this whole attempt attempt to do a lot of healing with regard to the masculine and feminine that, to put it bluntly, I would say is in a certain way just perpetuating, in my opinion, perpetuating a lot of the painful and harmful perspectives on what the feminine and the masculine are. So, for example, okay, and this is something where I would love for us each to just be with this, and share what comes alive. So, again, to cut to the chase and just say it kind of quickly, is, for example, there are these notions out there that, to be more in touch with yourself as the goddess or the feminine, that there's a need to be hyper, hyper, hyper sexualized, to dress in certain ways and um, be very flowy and sensual and like kind of like very, very demonstrative of that part of yourself, I guess, publicly, that kind of a thing. Which, if it's working for somebody, great, awesome, beautiful, go for it. Um, and I've gotten those messages from places. And so I've had to sit with that a lot in myself. And here's what I've really come to. It's like, we are the goddess. We are the god. We literally are the divine feminine and the divine masculine, right? There's no way we could not be. It doesn't even make any sense. Um, and so what I would really encourage us to do, and I think is a huge part of this healing available, again, come back right here. Like, if we're wondering, what is the divine feminine? What is the divine masculine? Here we are. Here's me. I am it. You are it, right? There's nothing that isn't it. So, yeah, so that's, I think I'm gonna channel briefly, at least, for us to just feel it in our body. Because there is still so much misogyny and very, very damaging messaging out there that's not where the healing is for this. The healing is right here. The healing is in letting our bodies tell us, I would say, actually. Like, our body knows what is the feminine. I mean, yeah, I identify as a feminine. I have a very feminine body, right? It's right here. And the masculine too. So, and it's all in me. We're all of it. Okay. We don't have to have a body that matches any of it, actually, to know it, to be it. Right. So that's kind of like just a starting place of a mm, my opinion, my sense of where the answers lie. It's not that. That's not it. It's a different solution. It's come back to this. Come back to this. Come back to ourselves. And really honor that in each other too, actually. Okay, so hang on. I'm going to show you one other thing. It's really calling to me. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an image from a NASA site, a NASA website, of the 3-eye atlas flyby trajectory through our solar system. Because, I'd really love to invite you to feel what you feel here, and I will tell you what I feel. And then I'm going to channel a little bit, kind of based on that. But again, so what's happening, you can go to a video recently done by Heather Ensworth, where it's the video she did for the full moon in Aries, but where she talks about 3-eye atlas and its fly by Mars, and then et cetera. If you want to, yeah, get her perspective as well. I really enjoyed that video. Thank you, Heather. So yeah, so what she talks about is the fact that 3 days before the full moon that we just had in Aries, so on October 3rd, 2025, 3-eye atlas came the closest it's going to get to Mars. And then we had the full moon in Aries, which happens to be ruled by, guess what? Mars. Fascinating. Then, like I was saying, on October 21st, 3-eye atlas from the point of view of Earth will be behind the sun. So in its superior conjunction with the sun, and with the Earth and the moon on the other side of the sun. Okay. And then November 3rd, 3-eye atlas makes its closest approach to Venus just before the next new moon. I mean, sorry, the next full moon, which will actually be a full moon in Taurus. And let me show you this really quickly. This is amazingly fascinating. Um, Here is the full moon coming up on November 5th. Okay, so November 3rd, 2025 is when Three Eye Atlas will pass the closest it's going to get to Venus. Here's Venus, and Venus is the ruler of that full moon. Okay, so in other words, Three Eye Atlas already passed by Mars 3 days before the full moon in Aries, which is ruled by Mars. Then it's going to be the closest it gets to Venus 2 days before the full moon in Taurus, ruled by Venus. And Venus at that point will be at the exact same degree, 28 degrees of Libra, as the new moon that we're just coming up to, 28 degrees of Libra on October 21st, 2025, when Three Eye Atlas will be in its superior conjunction with the sun. Very, very interesting. So in other words, on the day of that November 5th full moon in Taurus, the ruler of the full moon, or Venus, will be in the same placement as the new moon we're having on October 21st, and Three Eye Atlas will have just passed its closest approach to Venus 2 days before that. Very, very, very interesting. Okay. But back to this image of Three Eye Atlas and its motion through our solar system. Okay, so what I think is important here is that when people are saying, oh, Three Eye Atlas is going to get the closest it gets to Mars, and then to the sun, and then to Venus, in my mind, I realized I had this image. I mean, maybe it made no sense, but I think it can be easy for us to imagine that somehow Three Eye Atlas is like coming through, like curving and kind of getting closer, like really close to all of them. That's not the case. So what's happening, and I think this is important in my own body as I feel into this, is that Three Eye Atlas is passing into and then out of, like it's going through the orbit of Mars. It's not passing through the orbit of the Earth, or it's not getting so close to the sun that it's not getting any closer to the sun than, in other words, it comes into the orbit of Mars but doesn't get any closer. It doesn't cross the orbit of Earth or Mars, I mean, or Venus or Mercury, right? And so it's being held in the orbit of Mars, you could say. That's how I'm personally feeling it as I see this. So it already did get on October 3rd the closest it's getting to Mars, but that's the closest it's getting to any of these planets. And it's like, so the Mars energy and the Mars orbit energy are pretty important in this flyby of Three Eye Atlas through our solar system. So even though it's going to be passing by Venus, I just want to, not that it matters that much, but I just want to say it's not getting as close to Venus as it did already to Mars. Yeah. Right. And then another side note, which I will talk about later on, so fascinating. The date it's going to get the closest to the Earth is December 19th, which is yet again a new moon, which Heather talks about. But also my ears seriously perked up when I heard that, because I actually have been getting told by my guides for a week or two to be holding an event on December 19th, which will be very much about helping us all to drop in and to the coming year, to 2026, and the year ahead. And I'll probably in that event be, talking about the astrology of 2026, et cetera. But really what is mostly going to be is what I'm feeling my guides are telling me is to help us all to deeply find in ourselves what is the calling. How are we being asked to step up to the plate in the next wave ahead, in the next year ahead? And that's very, very specifically meant to be on December 19th, 2025, which I just found out today is the day that Three Eye Atlas will be in its closest approach to the Earth. It's like, wow. Um, anyway, so that's a little side note there. I will say more about that as we get closer and as that's ready to sign up for. But yes, so one more time, just back to this image, right? I think it's really compelling to me just to be with this for a minute. So this is the line of the three-eye atlas passing through our solar system. It goes, first it entered the orbit of Jupiter, then it entered the orbit of Mars. It passed by its closest approach to Mars on October 3rd, and it's continuing through that orbit of Mars. And then it'll exit, and then it'll again approach, it'll cross the orbit of Jupiter. It'll get the closest it gets to Jupiter on March 16th next year, which, yeah, is its own whole topic. Right. But anyway, so you get the idea. Like, I just want us to be able to feel this, that there's something really, I feel something really important in the role of the Mars energy here, and maybe also the Jupiter energy, that it's holding this whole thing. Right. But you let us know what comes alive for you and all of that. Okay. So very, 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 this is a long video. But the very last part, I'm just going to briefly channel to help us be present with this and see what wants to come through. My sense is there's something here for us to really allow to arise the truth of our inner feminine, the truth of our inner masculine, and yeah, the real wisdom here, not some weird notions of what that means or how to do it. And hi, yeah, a lot of advice out there that it's just not cool, in my opinion, and very prevalent. Just in my opinion, perpetuating a sense of or an out of balance and painful way of being with it all, not actually particularly healing, my opinion. Okay. But if you know things out there that are really, really, truly healing and, you think are great for us to know about, please share that as well. That would be wonderful to know about. Um, okay. So hopefully this will be a helpful thing. All right. I'm just getting up my channeling music. All right. Speaking of which, if you are interested in the channeling course that I've already started, it's available now. It's available indefinitely. You're very welcome to join us. There's a sliding scale available. We've had our first two sessions. They're both recorded. They're both available now to enjoy. Yeah, so certainly sign up for that if you want. And if you haven't yet signed up for the free event coming on December 5th, 2025, definitely please sign up for that. That's going to be hosted by me, Julia Balaz, David Clements, Dr. John Ryan, and Kelly Kolodny. I'm super, super, super looking forward to that. Super excited. And yeah, that's December 5th, 2025. It'll be live and recorded, totally free. And yeah, so converging, it's like I just feel, yeah, something very like a click waiting to happen in our individual selves and in the collective, like ready to come online in a very different way. And I have a guess it'll be pretty powerful. So please join us and invite anyone else you feel called to join in as well. Okay, cool. Thank you for being here, as always. Join the free community, download the free app, Living the One Light app, livingtheonelight.com, all the things. Okay, awesome. Okay, yes. Hello and welcome. Yes, so there are so many components to the healing journey of the divine feminine, divine masculine. So there's just a couple of relatively simple things that we are called to say today. And we are really speaking as the vibration and an emanation of the feminine masculine principles in harmony, in love and balance, in oneness, in the remembering of the totality of both as one, the energy of the two as one before the illusion of separation. And we're here more than anything in this particular form to help you feel it in your system, in your body, what that two as one is. So again, there are so many different ways to be with this, but in this time together, what we really encourage you to do, encourage you to, or give an opportunity for you to be with is the following. So all of the notions in the human world of what personalities go with quote unquote feminine or women and versus men or the masculine, those are notions. The ultimate reality, of course, is of the two as energetics. And there are some ways, like the way of Keone Hanalei speaking of the feminine and the masculine, that are very beautiful and balanced and in harmony and very productive ways of being with those energetics. And so certainly there are many ways to be with this, to find it in yourself and to find it in the work of others. Today, we're just going to add in one component that may be helpful. So taking a long, slow, deep breath, I invite you to imagine, feel, see all the way down into the core of Gaia, the earth. Feel the light of the heart of Gaia. And feel as that light itself emanates from the core of the heart of Gaia and begins to rise up through her core, through her whole body, her whole system, and feel as the energetic of the light of Gaia is, of course, whole in and of itself, and yet also begins to, as it's rising, to naturally split into two halves, and then begins to create an interweaving between those two halves and a spiraling up. So you could experience this like a DNA kind of helix, or just like a weaving, more like a braid, or whatever it is, a weaving of the two sides as it makes its way up through the being of Gaia, through her body, and then rises up through the ground to the base of your spine. And then with your permission, your invitation only, if and as you do give that invitation and that permission, you can then feel and invite as that interweaving of those two strands of light of the heart of Gaia begins to now enter the base of your spine and continues to weave its way up through your spine, through every single vertebrae, through every nook and cranny of your spinal column, weaving this beautiful braiding of light back and forth and back and forth. And you can feel as it slowly makes its way up one vertebrae at a time. So starting with your coccyx and then working its way all the way up through your sacral vertebrae. So through the first chakra, then to the second chakra area, behind your pelvic area. As it keeps making its way all the way up till it reaches your lower lumbar region. And these two braids of light keep braiding their way, weaving their way up, healing and soothing your spinal column, spinal cord. It's braiding light in and out and in and out, affecting all your organs, bringing healing and balancing to every single organ in your pelvic region, your abdominal region, until it reaches your third chakra at your solar plexus, bringing light and healing and balancing to your liver, your spleen, gallbladder, your stomach, your intestines, small intestine, large intestine, colon, your diaphragm itself. And the light keeps making its way up your spine till it comes to the back of your lungs and in the back of your heart and your fourth chakra. And you may feel called to take a large, long, slow, deep breath there as the light opens up the back of your heart, opens up the front of your heart, and strengthens your whole heart chakra area, which is an entire portal and magnificent being in and of itself. And then the light keeps weaving its way up your spine, vertebrae by vertebrae at a time, till it reaches, now it's in your thoracic vertebrae, of course, and eventually it now reaches your cervical vertebrae in the base of your neck, and then comes up your neck to the area behind your throat and your fifth chakra, your voice, singing, connecting heart and voice as one. And the light keeps weaving its way up to the base of your skull and your occiput, the base of your skull behind your head. And then the light keeps weaving, coming to your pineal gland, your sixth chakra, lighting up your sixth chakra, cleansing it, healing it, supporting it to relax, to come into incredible balance. And then up to the crown of your head. Again, weaving and bringing this opening, but this balancing, this innate knowing of what it is to be open at the crown chakra, and then also what it is to close and open and close and open in exact healthy regulation. And then perhaps you see or imagine a lotus flower up at the crown of your head, and perhaps a flower at every single one of your chakras. Maybe the same lotus at every chakra, or maybe different types of flower beings, whatever feels exactly right for you. And you can even imagine a flower being just soothing, holding space for, and being present with every single one of your vertebrae as well, all the way down the back of your spine. Again, retracing exactly where that weaving of light rose up your spine. You can feel the soothing of those flowers, the flowering, just holding you. And these flowers really creating a loop down the front of your chakras, the front of your body, and then up the back of your spine in a big loop of you being held in the co-creative dance of feminine and masculine as one, the wholeness and the totality of who and what you are. And you can breathe in and out and just be held and present in this way for as long as you want, as long as you need. Feel how this way of being held is so far beyond words and supporting your body to relax, remember what it is to be safe, honored, cherished, celebrated as the beauty that is you, the flower that is you, the exquisiteness of the divine feminine that is fully you, and the exquisiteness of the divine masculine that is fully you, in the natural balance and harmony of existence that is fully you. And so it is. Amen. Okay. I really enjoyed that myself. That felt really good. Yeah, that's where the answer lies. Those kind of experiences, right? Not just only that experience, obviously, but there we go. Not these weird notions out there that to be the goddess means XYZ. We are the goddess. We are the god. We are the flower is the goddess. The right. It's like we're human. We're not the goddess in that capital G sense, but yeah, our bodies know it. Our souls are it. Flower is it. Literally. All right. I would love your feelings, your thoughts on all of that. That feels so good. That felt so Libra. 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 Yeah. I can feel it in my body, just the healing of that. Okay. Yeah. And the last thing I'll just say with all of this, all of this is transiting. And so even anything in the Libra sign is actually in the constellation of Virgo. So Virgo is a very large, very, very, it's one of the largest constellations, period. And it actually overlays the end of the sign of Virgo, like the 20 somethings, the entirety of the sign of Libra, and the first few degrees up to about 8 degrees-ish of Scorpio. So it's very, very large. So all of this, the new moon, the placement currently of Venus, uh, um, Yeah, and then where the Threa Atlas is kind of passing through all of a lot of this thing is in the constellation of Virgo, or as I like to call it, the goddess, right? So I would say for sure this element of the Libra-ness of needing to balance, come into deep healing and listening, and equality of the masculine and the feminine is very, very alive. And I would say this might just be me, but I would say for at least some of us, I think we're certainly getting big support in this time to be really feeling it in ourselves. What is the truth of the divine feminine? So there's a lot of us, probably most of us, 99% of you feel some kind of calling, I think, um, to be bringing back the feminine or the truth, feminine rising and all of that. What is that really? To really feel it, to be it, to let her tell us what it is, right? Not to get those ideas from over there and so said we need to blah blah blah. But I mean, imagine if we all just let her speak through us as us. That would really do amazing wonders for our world. And that goes for people who identify as any gender, obviously. And then the same is true for the masculine. That needs to be done as well. So if you feel called to either or both, great, go for it. But I would say I personally am feeling the calling with the feminine especially strongly right now, as so many things are passing through that goddess constellation. Um, and the sun is in the goddess constellation right now. The new moon will be in the god, all the things I just said. Yeah. So both are equally important, not to say one is more important than the other at all, at all, at all. Super important to be with both. Um, And I really, really welcome you to share anything that's coming alive for you with any and all of that here in the comments and also in the free Living the One Light community. And again, if you haven't joined the free community, please do. It's really active, so positive, so supportive. I'm just amazed by all the things you all are sharing in there, beautiful photos and just uplifting music and uplifting this and that. And we need that, right? This is literally how we create new earth. Is by doing it. So, yeah. So I see so much beauty happening in that free community. So please join in. Um, just I get a lot of joy out of just enjoying what you all are sharing in there and supporting each other and all of that. So you can join for free on livingtheonelight.com on my website or through the new free Living the One Light app, which again is free on Apple and Android devices. Um, Yes, and join the free December 5th gathering. There's other free things on my website, and if you want to still join the channeling course, feel free to do that. Yeah, and more to come. All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you as always for being here. And I'll see you soon.